All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you guys had a great day. I had a phenomenal day of doing nothing, right? I mean, from the opening bell to, the high of the day, there was extra 3 points. All right. So S&P 500 up 1.93% on the day, ladies and gentlemen, and still got a little bit of juice here after hours. NASDAQ up 2% today, 2.15% today. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a hell of a run, and it's just a crazy rally. All right, so what's driving this? All right, this is a lot different environment that we are in versus last November CPI gap up. All right, and the reason is because I think the market is very focused on this number right here, not so much the core CPI, even though that's the lowest core CPI reading since I think for 2 years. In addition to that 3.2% headline CPI, in which TRT, we expected that. All right. So that's why I gambled some SPX calls overnight. All right. Because I expected that number. Not saying I'm smart, not boasting, but that's what my forecast was. All right. But the top number that you see here that I think is really, really important is the CPI month over month, which came in at 0.0%, down from 0.4% previous reading versus an expected 0.1 reading. All right. So that sent the markets from 440 this morning, gapped up to 446 opening, and we ended up going to 450 today. So pretty much, let's just say it's a 100-point SPX run today. All right. So that is that is hard to ignore how good that data is. I want to stress that. So don't underestimate this rally. Am I saying to go buy calls every dip? No, not necessarily. We're still going to have to play the levels and all that. We're going to have to wait for a pullback, wait for some type of base to start occurring over the next couple of days. Then we can go in. But going over the charts here, this is the chart that we've been tracking since the beginning of the year. And we said that this week that our target was 444. Well, we're beyond that. And there doesn't even seem to be a healthy pullback coming yet so far. We said 444 and we pulled back to 436, and that's not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen this week. All right. You still have PPI data tomorrow. So we popped over this trend line on the 4-hour chart, and this is where you have to be careful, right? So since the start of this rally, October 27th, 30th, okay, Halloween time, the 4-hour stochastic went overbought for a period of 2 weeks. Okay. So we are over here on the stochastics overbought once again, heavily overbought once again. And what I love to see is this to flush and come back down, but it doesn't have to, because why? Right? We've been up here for 2 days now, overbought, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. And this was up here, the stochastic was overbought for 2 weeks, and it didn't slow down until Powell. So right, until bad news Powell came along and said there's another rate hike. Well, unfortunately, he's not going to do any more rate hikes because look at these numbers. They're phenomenal. It's great for the economy, great for Americans, and all of that. All right. So what are we looking for tomorrow, at least on the intraday charts? I mean, I love to see some dips coming back into this area, all right? But it just seems too easy that they're going to short this all the way back down to 440. I don't think that's going to happen just yet. You have a huge 30-minute fair value gap here all the way back down to 440. And it's entirely possible, I'll give it to you, it's a possibility we dip 10 points tomorrow. But I don't think so. I think that would be way too drastic if there was no bad news. I think the market can consolidate and base for a while. So what we're looking for is, let's just say if we continue to base all night here and go flatline, like 447, 448 for the rest of tomorrow, fine. Then that's good enough base for the next run, all right? You look at this chart here, we filled this gap back from September 14, 447.70 that hit perfectly, and it went beyond that. So above 450, if we clear the 450 level tomorrow, you're looking at September 1 highs, which would take you to 453.67. So I'm gonna put a target up here that we're gonna go there at some point this week. I think there's one more run. And a lot of folks will say, well, that's a shooting star, John. Well, look at this. Look what happened. You had a shooting star on November 3rd, and we just continue to go up. You had a little hanging man up here, or I'm sorry, a doji here, and just still went up because of the data. All right. So don't be so naive, I guess, is a word, to think that we're going to drop 10 points or 9 points tomorrow over nothing. If PPI data is good, I think that we shoot right past 450 at this point, okay, and end up somewhere here. But then once we end up in September and September highs, oh, by the way, there's still a gap to get filled at 455. Ooh, okay. So there you go. You got a gap here at 455 that never filled from the September one highs. All right. So you got a small little gap there at 450. Yeah, 455. All right. So once we clear this 450, 453.68, yeah, do we need a pullback? Certainly. So maybe what we do is we run up here and then come back and retest and finally fill that gap. But I know that the market, or a lot of market participants, are looking at that gap and hoping it gets filled. And that's what happens when everybody expects that gap to get filled. It doesn't. All right. Look what happened back in this gap. All right. 425, 423 close, gap up to 426, gap up to 432. None of these gaps ever filled. I'm not saying that this won't fill, but it's just, follow the pattern, right? Trade the day-to-day basis. But that's what I'm looking for next couple of days, 453.68. All right. Taking a look at the Q chart. Okay. Take a look at the Q chart. All right. So it's just about $3 away from 388, which would be your July highs. It is getting there pretty quick. Yeah, there's a gap at 378. Do I expect an 8-point drop tomorrow? No, I don't. Okay. Certainly you could get some choppiness or maybe reset the hourly stochastics, etc. But I don't think we're going to drop that dramatically tomorrow, just over a gap at this point. Okay. But we'll see. Be open-minded to it. But you look at the hourly chart once again, or look at the 30-minute chart. All right. Since the beginning of this run, way back here on Halloween, look for this base. All right. 1050 EMA. Look for that 50 EMA to start catching up to the price action at 447, 448. Yes, you have a massive FEGs up there. All right. You have a massive volume gap here too. So look for the base to start occurring. Once the base starts, then that's when you'll know that, okay, there's a potential another move coming. All right. But at this point, no, I'm not holding anything overnight. This is not it for me. I'd rather see some consolidation, some action there. So let's go to Tesla real quick, guys. Tesla hammer day. All right. Going for that gap at 242. Watch for dips tomorrow on Tesla. If they dip Tesla tomorrow, I want to buy because I want to see this gap filled. All right, so that's Tesla. I'm still keeping an eye on Apple. Apple hit our target 189. Did not hit our target 189 this week. All right, or 189, 190 is my target. You got just a small doji day. All right. Usually when Apple gaps up, you're going to get these kind of just weird action, just kind of go sideways, right? You got a small little gap here at 186.03. So put that on your calendar or put that on your chart there to see that gap fill at 186.03. And that could be a decent entry to see once that gap fills to move back up. All right. We played with Meta this week. All right. Look where Meta's at. All right. Pop right over that, this wedge here. All right. So Tesla, Apple will continue to be on my watch. Once again, QQQ, you do have to watch this tomorrow, 388. All right, 388 is a big, big level right here. So if it blows past that, then yeah, we're going all-time highs, I think. But, like I said, there's a bunch of gaps down here. I totally understand. But like I said, there's just not enough bad news going around yet. You never know if Moody's may drop a bad news, et cetera. But there's not enough bad news yet to go and say, okay, well, let's just go back and fill all those gaps. It's just not yet. All right, unless, of course, something bad happens, or else the market is just kind of in the buying and dip mode. All right, so tomorrow, PPI data tomorrow morning at 8:30, and we will go from there. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your afternoon, and we'll see you back in the morning.